All right, so welcome back to the second part of this video. This is the second generation of the 400-meter athletes. We are done with the first generation. I'm sorry I was talking too much, talking about the history of the 400 meters. This is the people, this is actually the basement of the 400 meters. So these are actually the people who cemented, the track for what you are seeing today in the 400 meters. So I had to talk a lot about it, and I know I've not even extensively exhausted all the information I need to about that. Maybe we'll do so in the next videos to come, but I just had to say what I had to say, and most of those athletes, like in the first generation sprints, the 400 meters, most of them were running 44s, and that's the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Then the second generation of athletes I'm about to mention right now, I could only come up with 6 names, and apparently just one of them had 44s. The rest were running 45 seconds, but they also did some impressive runnings, representing the country, the Olympics, the World Championships, African Games, African Championships, and whatnot. Also in the relays, and also getting the relays to the finals in some of these events. But I'll be very brief to the point, because I don't want this video to be very, very long, just you listening to me rambling and mumbling. I'll just get straight to the facts. So these 6 top athletes I'll talk about, this is Ezra Sambu. Ezra Sambu was the athlete who was inspired and also nurtured by the first generation athletes. So Ezra Sambu was an athlete from the 90s, late 90s, the ones who are rising, but he's more of a 2000 millennial type athlete. So I have Ezra Sambu, I have Vincent Momo, I have Anderson Mureta, Thomas Musembi, George Koba, and Mark Mutai. So these are the athletes I'll be talking about in the second segment of the topic of the 400 meter rising in Kenya. So straight to the point, let's talk about so I will save the last for the best, or best for last. Last for best, best for last. Okay. To begin with, let's start with George Koba. Was an athlete representing the police, and was a very good 400 meter athlete. He used to run a lot of 46 seconds, but he has a personal best of 45.77 seconds, and has represented Kenya in African Games, African Championships. And he was not a very built athlete. He was more like he looked like a long distance athlete, but he had speed and endurance, and a very good athlete. Apparently I cannot find a lot of information about him on the internet, but he is a very good athlete. He had a personal best of 45.77 seconds in the 400 meters. Then next one we have Vincent Momo. Vincent Momo had a personal best of 45.31 seconds. Damn, that was fast. So in the 200 meters he had 20.65 seconds. In the 400 meters he had 45.31 seconds. In the 400 meter hurdles, Momo was also a hurdler. So in the 400 meter hurdles he had 50.53 seconds. In the 600 meters at the time of 115.86 seconds. And also he ran the 800 meters and he had a time of 147.50 seconds. That was really impressive coming from Momo. Momo was a small structured athlete. He was not built, he was small, and compared to other athletes he was a bit shorter, and he used to clear the hurdles, the 400 meter hurdles. He used to clear the 110 meter hurdles. He used to run the 400 meter flat, the 100, the 4x1, the 4x4. Is one of those versatile athletes, but he was better in the 400, the 200, and the 4x400 meters. Like I said, he had a personal best of 45.31 in the 400 meters. And some of the achievements of Vincent Momo is that he was the top 8 at the World Championship Games. I believe that was in the 4x400 meters. And also African champion, bronze medalist, and also he was the Commonwealth Games silver medalist. All right, the next great hero in the 400 meters we have is none other than Thomas Musembi. Thomas Musembi represented Kenya Prisons in the 400 meters, and he was a one-time African champion, the two-time national champion in the 400 meters, and also he had a personal best of 45.69 seconds in the 400 meters. That was also some impressive time. 45.6 in the mid 2000s was also really a fast time, considering most of the athletes in his era were running 45 seconds. And one major achievement by Thomas Musembi is that he's a one-time world record. Piga makofi. Bro, come on. World record. And the world record, the sprint medley, that is the sprint distance medley. In this event, usually they have I think an 1500 meter athlete, an 800 meter athlete, I think a 200 meter athlete, I'm not so sure, but also 400 meter athlete, and Musembi was running the 400 meters, and they set a world record, I think, which stands to date. I'm not sure, I think I'm too lazy to check, but another athlete by the name Anderson Mureta. Anderson Mureta was was an athlete 400 meters, and Kenyan American based athlete, so to speak. He trained in the US and got a scholarship at the University of Texas, El Paso, and he had a personal best of 45.22 in the 400 meters. Some of his achievements: top 8 at the World Championship Games, silver medalist, Commonwealth Games, 3-time African champion, and he was a 5-time, 5-time national champion. And also, don't forget, Anderson Mureta was also part of the 4x100 meter team that set the record back in 2010, a time of 39.40 seconds. Yes. Okay, moving on to the next great hero, sprinter, athlete, 400 meter is none other than Mark Mutai. If you mention the name Mark Mutai, what comes in your head? The gold medal. He won the gold medal at the Commonwealth Games back in 2010 in India, and I'm proudly to say that I was there. I watched it, and that was insane. He came straight to the line, fighting. It was a very tight race between him and his opponent, I think the Australian guy. Straight to the line. He just won with the whisker, but a win is a win. He won gold, his first gold medal, and Kenya won the gold medal. And Mark Mutai has a personal best in the 400 of 45.28 seconds. Also, some of his other achievements is that he's a one-time top 8 at the World Championship Games, one-time African Championship, silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games, but the most important is the gold medal that he won at the Commonwealth Games back in 2010. Those are 5 athletes, but the second generation athletes.
World Games champion, 45.44. The Kenyan came late on the dip. The strong Australian, Sean Rowe. The remarkable success of Kenya continues at the 2010 Commonwealth Games with the gold medal in the 400 meters to Mark Mutai.
So the last one, like I said, is Ezra Sambu. Like I said, Ezra Sambu was late 90s coming to the 2000s, and Ezra Sambu had a time of 44.43 seconds in the 400 meters, and in 2003 the All African Games he won gold in the 400 meters. In 2003 Afro Asian Games in the 400 meters also he won a gold. He was a I thought Mureta had the number of the highest number of not being a national champion. Mureta had 5 times national champion. Ezra Sambu was a 9-time champion. Iko nini? Makofi tena. Ezra Sambu was a 9-time 400 meters national champion, and he ran at 44.3 seconds, bro. So in 2001 in Nairobi, he ran a time of 44. And he's ran 44 a couple of number of times. So in Nairobi in 2001, he ran a time of 44.47 seconds. In 2003, he ran a time of 44.43 seconds. And in 2003, in the All African Games in Nigeria, he ran a time of 44.98 seconds. I think that's it. So that's about the second generation of athletes. So I've talked about the first generation and I've talked about the second generation. And if you compare the two, before you even come to the third and fourth generation, if you compare the two, the first generation athletes, majority were running 44s. Abednego Matilu, talking about the late Julius Sang, talking about Samson Kitur, David Kitur, talking about Kennedy Ochieng. I mean, I've already mentioned 5, and all those is 44. Second generation athletes were very good sprinters also. They also cemented, also or part of the rising of the 400 meters in Kenya, and you can see some of them, just one actually, Ezra Sambu's the one who ran a 44, the rest were running 45s, 45 seconds. Musembi, George Kwoba, Vincent Momo, Mark Mutai, Anderson Murata. These are very good athletes. They actually made Kenya known, especially in the relays, in the pen relays, in the World Championships, and also in the Olympic Games. These people are really doing impressively, you know, getting to the finals of the World Championship Games in the 4x4, Commonwealth Games, winning silver and whatnot. So, but you can see the difference between the first generation and the second generation. So first generation 44s are mainly, second generation is 45s. So let's come to the third generation of sprinters in Kenya.